Hi guys, welcome to the Peppermint Apes podcast. This is the last episode of 2020 and we're just going to be looking back on the year, just reviewing how it went for us really. So first of all guys, it's good to see you again virtually at the moment.
Yeah, good to see you all.
Right there.
I'm loving your backdrop, Sam.
Thank you very much. I bought the old green screen for our latest little project and just giving it a try out. Why not?
Yeah, so he's already given away what we're doing in 2021.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
I need to talk about the podcast now. See you later.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Yes, but no, we've got some good things lined up for 2021, like new recordings, which we'll come to soon.
Be your friend now, wanna be your hero on a dance floor. And I see
First of all, I just want to say this is going to be for the last podcast that we're going to do where we upload the full video on YouTube. There might be times where we have a special guest or a special topic where we'll put the whole video on, but I think we've all agreed as a band really that in the new year when we do podcasts again, the full podcast will be on Spotify and other audio platforms, and the best bits will go on YouTube. I think that's what we've agreed, isn't it?
Yeah.
But as it's the last one of the year, we'll put the whole video up. So first of all, if you're watching this, only a couple of days ago we obviously found out about, for where we are in Essex, obviously about the tier 4 restrictions. So some spirits might be a little bit low at the moment, but we can raise it by sort of looking at some good times over the last year.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
What was it that year we did a cover of Lonely This Christmas? It's quite apt now, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's all for a good cause deep down.
Well,
But,
can't be driving home for Christmas.
yeah, it's not allowed. But no, 2020. So I think first of all, it's best to sort of start with the beginning of the story for our lineup. Really, it's just pre-2020, sort of towards New Year's Eve. Really, I think me and you, Lewis, obviously we've been in the band. Well, obviously from the beginning. You've been in the band for 10 years now, really.
Must be, yeah. Must be 10 years this year. Must be.
Yeah. And the lineup before this, which was really good, obviously with Josh and Sam, so Sam Edwards and Josh Smith, we kind of we were still a band, but we hadn't really done anything for a couple of years, had we? You know, we did the 10-year special the year before, but then after that, other than chatting on WhatsApp every now and again, we never really, I think everyone was busy with their lives, really. And you and I, Chris, were in a really good covers band, Strikeout.
Yeah,
local pubs and stuff, and that kept us busy. But we from the success, if you like, of the 10-year show, of not just us being the lineup, but having special guests. Sam, obviously, the year before you came on as a special guest, didn't you? And Chris, you was in the crowd that night. And we just thought for New Year's Eve, let's do a similar thing. It was at the same venue, the Bowers Club in Pitsea in Essex, and we thought let's do something similar, and we managed to get Zach Ballinger back, who was the original drummer and played on the Against the Wall album. So it was good to have him back for New Year's Eve, and it was just kind of agreed because I really wanted to get you involved, Chris, because of Strikeout and whatnot. And at that time, Strikeout was kind of fizzing out, wasn't it? We were at the cusp of splitting up.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
It was coming to the end.
It was sort of starting to yeah, it's the way it was going, wasn't it, really? I think we all four of us seemed to want different things and that, so it's just a natural kind of movement. I think wasn't really any.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like I was the catalyst to split it up, but I think it was just it was fizzling out, like you said. So
yeah, because I remember we went to our local pub. We say the Watermill as if anyone who watches it on YouTube is going to know what the Watermill is.
You've got to be a local.
If you watch others, we go to the Watermill. So people are watching like, oh yeah.
It must be a big hotspot in Essex.
oh no, in Babylon.
I know the one. Says Stephen from Louisiana. But
I've been there.
But no, we was at the Watermill, and you kind of just said to me, Ryan, I've just had enough, and I kind of sort of said the same thing, and but Lewis and I were, we organised this gig for New Year's Eve, and even that whole year, Lewis, really, for 2019, we hadn't really got together as a lineup, had we? We hadn't really rehearsed. It was really towards the end of the year that we all said, right, let's rehearse. But we agreed it was going to be a special lineup. And Sam, obviously, we wanted you to come back and play a few songs with us for the night. And we just said, how about, we do a little set together. I played bass. It worked for you two to go on guitar. And we had some really good rehearsals, didn't we?
Yeah, it was awesome. And that run up to that gig was excellent, wasn't it? It was a really good time.
It was good.
Yeah, it's really, really, really productive rehearsals as well. There wasn't like a minute wasted at all. We just got on with it.
Yeah, cracked on and just did it. And we'll talk a bit more in a minute about backing tracks, but obviously we worked on a couple for the New Year's Eve gig. And yeah, the gig went really well, didn't it? With the special guest, with Zach coming on, my dad played a few songs. We all got on the stage, didn't we? And sang Auld Lang Syne, didn't we? And thinking, again, let's get ready for 2020. Oh,
yeah. How hindsight makes you look back, eh?
Yeah, just think COVID was around then as well.
No one really knew about it though, really, did we?
No. And to be fair, that was a great gig as well. I was thinking about it this week actually, like the end of last week, early this week, thinking bloody hell, like that was literally a year ago already, and we were probably around this time in the rehearsal room each week, pretty much a couple of times a week. So it's just really weird.
It's funny. It's funny you say that, Luke. 'Cause I was thinking the exact same thing. I was thinking about it like getting towards New Year's. I was just thinking when we just got up and played Auld Lang Syne and kind of done it on the spot really, and it was great fun. Do
you know what made me laugh as well? I was thinking when we played that night, obviously we'd had the we'd put a YouTube video. I think it was about November time. We did the Eagles cover, Ryan. The Take It Easy one. And I remember someone that night asking us to play it, but they kept saying, "Can you play that song?" And we were like, "We've only done it a couple of times, like for the video." And there she was like, "Well, it's in your brochure." And I was thinking, "What brochure?" I ain't got a brochure. You still did it. Yeah. I was like, we're gonna have to put our brochures at gigs.
We ended up playing it, didn't we?
Yeah, and it was actually really good. Or that might have been the booze.
We hadn't rehearsed it since we did the video.
No,
so it was at a whim. I think Josh got the lyrics up on his phone.
Yeah.
So
that was a great night, though. That's the thing, wasn't it? Like when you said about the year before, Ryan, obviously not getting together much, and kind of always kind of coming together at the end for the big sort of end of year gig. But I think from the 10-year show, we got such a buzz of having like kind of people get up, and it was a real sort of family vibe, wasn't it? It was kind of, in a way, it was a gig for everyone else there on the night, but for us, it was a big sort of celebration, wasn't it? In terms of like sort of 10 years of the band and everything. So to have everyone there and to sort of pack out the venue and have a really good atmosphere and like have a lot of fun getting people up. I think we were after that sort of family sort of vibe again, weren't we? The next year when we did the New Year's, it was like New Year's and Christmas is a celebration of people as well. So to kind of get everyone and kind of get back up there and stuff and have everyone kind of add something different. It was just a real nice big sort of celebratory event, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think two kind of celebrations really. I think number one, it was nice for the 10-year and the New Year's Eve show because it was a nice way, as well as the core lineup at the time, which was me, you, Josh, and Sam, to kind of be open to celebrating previous members like Sam Cloughton. Obviously, you came back as an extra again and from the past. Great to see Zach again. Great to see Dave the year before. We couldn't make the New Year's Eve gig. And it was also good for us as well. Although we hadn't done gigs, New Year's Eve gigs before as the Peppermint Apes, I think 4 years previous, we had our own parties. It sounds so weird saying parties now, doesn't it, with what's going on in the world? But I think the first 2 years, Lou, you hosted it at yours. And Sam, you was there. Josh was there. Edmonds was there. Good Tom Bissell, our photographer. So that was a good night. The year after you hosted it again. Then I hosted 2 years at my place. So it was like the 5th year for us. Obviously, no people that watch this won't care what I'm saying, but to be fair, you was at the last two as well, weren't you? The party.
Yeah, so you better give a shit, son.
It was just quite nice. The way I looked at it, it was almost like the end of a series kind of thing of like 4 years of parties, and the 5th one we did a big gig.
And then the world ended.
Yeah. This New Year's Eve we'll just be on our own.
Yeah.
But no, it was good, and obviously Old Lang Syne, Sam. What was quite funny is obviously I think it was about a few days before the gig. Although my dad doesn't manage the band anymore, he still gets involved. Like obviously recordings we do. We have a little WhatsApp group where we call it head office, and we just like to get his opinion on things because he's still got a good wise head. Don't let him know I told him that. So yeah, I've always considered my dad, a band member of the Apes. So it's always good to get his opinions on stuff. But he said to us, didn't he, Lewis, just before, you guys need to play Old Lang Syne. It won't be right. And was like, well, we haven't rehearsed it. It's a couple of days before the gig. We're just gonna play it on the recording. It's like, no. And was like, no, we're not going to do it. And on the sound check, he was like, guys, these are the chords. Looking back on it, I'm glad we did now. So it was good.
It was a good shout.
But so it was a good gig. Went down really well. Great night for us all. Good to see the family there as well as some followers, etc. And then sort of in the new year, we kind of realised it was a bit of a catch-22. You had quite a few gigs for Strikeout, didn't you, Chris?
Yeah, I had a few. Yeah, but mainly it was contacts as well that you get to know over the years, and you don't really want to lose them, do you? So
no. So we agreed. We thought, well, we like this, didn't we? We like this lineup. We want to continue it, and it did feel like it did feel like the Peppermint Apes, and especially with you, Sam, and Lewis. So at the time, we thought, well, let's split it into two in terms of two lineups, because Josh and Sam, although we still wanted to do things with them, we weren't really obviously doing a lot. It was like usually once a year we'd get together. So we thought we'd gauge it. And what we liked with Josh and Sam was the fact that we could potentially do more originals and do more covers with this lineup. So that was the initial plan at first. And we started rehearsing again in January, didn't we? And we started working more heavily on the backing tracks, which we'd never really done before. We did it for the New Year's Eve gig, a couple of songs, but we just thought to thicken out the songs and, give it some, bit of brass and bit of keyboards here and there. And Sam, you was really the driving force behind that, weren't you, really?
Yeah, it's since I played in a function band years ago, I was hooked on it really, and just fascinated with how it was done. And then so I just sat in my studio for ages and worked out how to do it. And then I think any band I've ever joined now, I've always tried to incorporate some sort of backing track in it, original songs as well. Try and get like brass on it and strings and things like that, and any accompaniment like backing vocals, and just to thicken it all out. So bringing it into the Apes as well, especially for our function gigs, I think is brilliant, because you'll play a song that's heavily got like a trumpet section or something, like Ollie Murs, for instance, when we do Dance With Me Tonight, got a heavy use of saxophone, and when you're playing live and the audience can hear that, so if you're trying to interpret it on a guitar, I think they're quite impressed by it. It's saying, oh, wow, this is like more towards the original song. Like, that's what they want to hear at the end of the day. They want to hear a good representation of the song. So, yeah, using the backing tracks is brilliant. And, I'm glad you guys took to it as well. And we then elaborated on it a bit more, where I could give you all a mix and stuff like that of it, and put metronome in your ears if you wanted it as well. So there's things like that. And I don't know if we'll come on to it later on, but like when we mentioned got all our equipment and how we was able to do it. So, yeah, I'm glad it went so well.
Yeah, it was really good, and it's surprising how well it works with the backing tracks, And we do mix it. We don't play every single song with a backing track. There are certain songs where we like to have a bit of creative control and have a bit of a jam and rock things up and have a bit of a more organic sound, bits of balance, isn't it? But really, obviously, around that time when we were rehearsing and obviously preparing for the gigs of our first gig, we did sit down. We went to, like I said, mentioned about the Watermill. We did sit down and have a bit of a band meeting and kind of planned 2020, didn't we, in terms of our lineup of the Apes, of what we wanted. And I don't know if you guys remember, but I sort of sat down. It wasn't a business meeting. We was having a good laugh, but I did have sort of a little kind of, almost like a pie chart and bullet points and stuff, thinking things we can achieve. And one of it
what didn't help was you brought your suit and your easel with you as well, and your laser pointer.
Yeah.
If you see on that wall by the TV,
all of a sudden I was giving you a valuation. No, but no, we were all talking collectively what we all wanted as well. But I think the main thing I said was, look, we need to build an online presence. We need to start doing vlogs. We need to record our gigs, get videos from the gigs to, put a montage together and put clips out regularly. And do a podcast as well. That was a thing that I wanted us to really, embrace. And obviously, Chris, you had ideas for some of the covers we could learn and whatnot. So we all just put stuff together. But we was really planning to really boost 2020, to really push YouTube, push with the gigs as well, which was a big thing. I think it was quite quite an inspiring meal we had, really. We all come up with a plan thinking, let's do this. And we had the gigs booked, and we had a lot of gigs booked for that year, didn't we, for 2020?
But what was good is that we stuck to that plan as well. We didn't just talk out, we didn't just say stuff and then go away and did nothing. We kind of all put a drive behind it and made things happen, which is great, because a lot of bands that we've been in before where you come up with plans and things like, we'll book a tour and stuff, or we'll go and record in the studio. Nothing ever happens. And I'm so over them. I'm so over them days now. It's just that's kind of when you're starting out the band. When you see a band advertising on Join My Band tour booked, I don't even bother looking at that stuff anymore, because it's just a waste of time. We've been around the block a few times now as musicians, and we kind of know them posts are, they're just there to try and entice you into being in the band. But the fact that we had that meeting and we went away and actually did these things, it just went really well, didn't it?
Yeah. And the thing, do you know what the thing that really impressed me looking back on it with hindsight, obviously given the fact that this year is essentially obviously been and gone, was realistically we were only really a band properly for 3 months, if that. And within 3 months we had got a 2.5 hour set. We had got multiple venues booked for the entire year. We'd had a top of the line PA system with subwoofers, you name it there. We'd orchestrated an entire backing for all of these songs, which, when you look at the market, and if we use a business analogy, like for you, Ryan, if you look at a market, and let's just say from a business perspective, what differentiates you from the competition? And for us, it's the fact that we've got these tools to be able to enable us to do something different, because there's lots of great bands around there, in any area. But, what makes us that little bit different? And I think the catalogue that we can bring to the table was definitely expanded a lot more by some of the things that we've done. So if you look at really what we did in essentially 3 months, from buying a PA to testing it, buying the lighting system, booking it, rehearsing a set, it's quite impressive when you actually stop and take a bit of a backward step and go, well, actually, to be honest with you, you only had 12 weeks really to do all of that, and the rest of the year is a write-off.
And if we wasn't stopped in our tracks, who knows where we'd be now? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of pride to take from what we achieved in literally 12 weeks, really. If you look at it even from a more of a specific standpoint, when you say 12 weeks and you think, well, we're only getting together on the weekends, really, and everyone else is working and got lives and families, that's quite impressive to say that we were able to kind of put ourselves in that position to succeed within the first couple of months of the year.
And the good thing is the first month of Jan, like I say, being productive, like you said, Lou, getting the PA systems, getting the lights, having that meeting where we planned what we wanted as a band. We weren't trying to be, right, let's just get that record deal. We was very focused on what's achievable, but in a good way, It was all very focused. But, we managed to book some more gigs as well. So we had loads of gigs lined up for 2020. I don't think we'd ever really, for a long time, been to the start of the year, we thought, crikey, look how many gigs we've got. It was really...
like 26 to 30 gigs or something, didn't we? And not all of them were pub gigs, some of them private functions as well. So
yeah. And there was a couple of festivals lined up as well that we were just waiting to confirm. There was some good things lined up. But then our first gig, which was the end of Jan, Chris and I, we used to play there a lot, didn't we, with Strikeout?
Oh, yeah.
And it was one of those pubs where you either like it or you don't. But I really enjoyed playing there. Some people said that the crowd could be a bit rough and this and whatever, but they were always good with us, weren't they? They never started anything with us. They just fight amongst themselves. What's that?
Yeah. I was saying, it's like they liked us. Can you imagine if they didn't like us? Like,
yeah. But the thing about that, though, I was telling a few of my customers at work, because some of them live in Wickford and stuff, and I was saying to them, I've got a gig down the Swan, and their initial reaction was like, you know. And but I said to him after the gig, I said to him after the gig, I said, it was actually a really good night. Everyone was good as gold. Okay, there was a bit of drama at the end, but it had nothing to do with us. It was, you know, argument over a parking space or something. I don't know, but it was a really good gig, and the crowd was good, especially the gentleman who decided to have a little dance with our speakers.
Yeah.
Well, that was
got it on video.
Yeah, we've got it on video somewhere, haven't we? But there was this guy that
framed. Here we go.
Dancing at the front, and he just completely collapsed on our PA system, and it was.
Chris caught it.
I posted it on Instagram, and you all told me off saying we're going to get sued, so I had to remove it.
Yeah,
I think it was just out. I think it was just like you know, making a mockery of someone who was pissed.
You can't get sued when you've got fuck all, can you?
But on the whole,
well, you're getting sued now.
I've got fuck all from 12, so.
Well, then we caption it as falling into the new year, like.
Yeah, fucking
2020, like. Yeah.
But all jokes aside, that was a good gig, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a great gig. Yeah,
we had a good turnout, good crowd
great
there.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that night.
And we played really well. And that month in particular, January, so that was a great gig to kick it off. Lou, you and I, we actually got together with Sam and Josh, didn't we? And actually had a rehearsal. You know, Josh had a pretty good idea of a song. And I think just, you know, it's important to sort of just address it briefly on this podcast, because obviously we talked about 2 lineups in the earlier videos. But in the very first month in Jan, that's when I started to do the vlogs. And I was doing vlogs every single month before recently, when there's not really been a reason to do vlogs. But I was documenting, you know, the gigs, the rehearsals. And I think the first 4 or 5 months, it's quite good. You can look back and watch the journey of what we did. But in that first vlog, you see us rehearsing with Josh and Sam, and I mentioned about us having 2 lineups. But as time went on, we just realised that lineup kind of just fizzled out, really. With the door's always open for previous members. Like I say, there might be the odd gig where Zach plays with us. There might be the odd gig where Sam Edwards comes and does something. The door's open. But would you agree, Lou? It was just one of those things that it just made more sense to accept that this is the main lineup that we was going to focus on.
Yeah, definitely. I say when you look at if you look at it factual, you know, obviously we were far more prolific and productive, obviously, in what we were doing with the guys here. So it was really working. And obviously, as much as we love Josh and Sam, obviously, and obviously they're always going to be a part of the Apes in some capacity. Like you say, we were never able to put anything consistent together. And obviously, when your time's limited, when you've got work, when you've got families and things, it's the same for everyone. It's hard to kind of commit lots and lots of hours to other things. And so when you can only have limited time and resources, and you need to be productive with the free time that you've got, it just obviously made a lot of sense, you know, for us to be the definitive lineup. And given the results that we had, and obviously the successes that we had, it's clear that was the easiest, you know, the best way forward. Yeah,
no, definitely. But no, the door's always open. We may do the odd video with them and other members, and Dave as well, I'm sure, at times. But that was January. And then February was really, well, we had a couple of gigs, which we'll come to in a sec, but it was our first podcast. It was the very first one we did, and it was done professionally. It was round yours, Sam, in your cabin.
Yeah.
And, you know, you did it really well. I mean, obviously, this is on Zoom because we can't physically get together and whatnot. So the quality's not as good when we do it this way, but you really wanted it to be good. Like, you made sure that we all had mics, you had a mixer there.
Well, you got to think that you got to think of the standard, mate. If you're looking at professional podcasts, now I'm not a professional podcaster because I'm not. That's just not what I do. But I'm or a professional vlogger or YouTuber. But it's at the end of the day, it's a bit of audio, so you need to capture that audio in the right way. So any podcast you watch, they're always going to have some form of microphone setup. When I've seen podcasts where they're just using their phone, I've noticed as well, a bit irrelevant. But when you see a lot of adverts this year, where these celebrities are at home filming and they're using their phones, you can really tell the difference between them filming on their phones. Like Alicia Dixon, for instance, flogging Tresemme. She's in her bathroom, but you can hear she's just filming on her phone because of all the reverb and stuff, can't you? It's true, though. Well, I've seen it a million.
That's fucking brilliant.
But it's true, though. So I pick up on them. I pick up on them things.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So, but if you watch a professionally produced advert, the audio is really tight and there's no reverb bouncing around and things like that. So it's not hard to do. You just got to do it right. And if you want the right content, you need the right kit. And thankfully, we have access to that, don't we? So
yeah. And I think you did a great job, Sam. And the good thing is that our first podcast, because I think we agreed, didn't we? I think going back to the Watermill when we sat down and planned the year, we said that the purpose of our podcast generally, there will be times where we'll talk about us, but on the whole, we wanted to sort of talk about music-related topics and do stuff that other people can either learn from or be inspired from, and that was the idea. But the very first one, it just made logical sense, didn't we, as a new lineup to talk about the history of the band. And Chris, being the newest member, you hosted it, So,
yeah.
But no, I think, guys, it was really good though, wasn't it? So I do suggest people, if you want to know the full history of the band, up to the start of 2020, from when it began, late 2008, check it out. It's on Spotify. It's over 2 hours long, isn't it? We tell the full story. But it was really good. Although I'm a firm believer that you need to look forward, you need to move onto your next venture and focus on the future. It is good every now and again to have a bit of a nostalgic look back on things, and that's what we did, didn't we? We looked back on the early days and how the band formed, how we thought of the band name, and the early days, the first 5-6 years of how the band was very much close to getting, we did get a record deal at one point, but really close to making it big in the commercial sense, and the setbacks that we had. And it was, in some ways, it was a bit sad to think of, what could have been, but it was also quite nice to look back and realise what we actually achieved for an unsigned band, what we did, the kind of gigs we did. And sometimes when you go back, you realise that as years have gone on, some people in the band or situations, you learn to forgive, and you can be happier in the now and move forward. And that's what I did. But what did you guys take from that first podcast?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. It's the first time I'd ever done anything like that as well. So I did enjoy it. It was interesting hosting it as well because, literally said, it was the first time I've done anything like that, and I'm not a natural kind of talker real well. Yeah, I mean, you'll probably beg to differ, but I'm not the most chattiest of person. Like one-on-one, I'm all right, but
yeah, but there's a difference, though, mate. It's between hosting and you're putting on a front, aren't you? When you're hosting, basically, it's not the real you. Exactly, you're seeing a fabricated version of yourself. And some people just aren't natural. Yeah. I'm not natural. I'm all for it, but no. That's what it is.
Tried to do my best Chris Moyles impression and all that, but it's just it was interesting.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. Going back and it was just good.
Do you know what? I thought it was a good way to put a sort of bookend on that chapter.
Yeah.
And especially with it being just after sort of 10 years, it was quite nice because obviously this, as we are now, is the future or was the future at that particular point. So it was quite a nice way to bookend that and then look at what we want to do, a clean slate. I thought that was quite a cool part of it as well.
No, definitely. But for the remainder of the month as well, so we was obviously rehearsing a lot every week, but we had 2 gigs. I called it the double B gigs because it was Burnham and Benfleet.
Yeah.
The Burnham one, that was really good fun. At first, we thought, what's it going to be like? Because obviously you're driving in the middle of nowhere, technically. Well, Burnham's got a good nightlife to it, I suppose, but to us, it's out the way to a point, and it was really windy, wasn't it?
But I was the first one to turn up because me, captain, 3 hours early. But I turned up early, and I turned up and I was like, what's gonna happen here? It's literally 2 blokes at the bar. One was trying to smell me because I was wearing Sauvage while I was setting up.
It's like, you Johnny Depp, or have I had too many beers?
It was like, you smell magnificent, and I'm trying to get me bass drum out of the bag. I'm like, but I turned up. I was like, oh my god, what are we doing? But yeah, it picked up, didn't it? So
that gig didn't that have that it had some sort of name, that storm, didn't it? Do you remember? Like, it wasn't like obviously hurricane because we don't get them here, but it was like storm something or other. When they give them a real name.
Or something, wasn't it?
I thought it was like Dennis or something. I thought it was start of the year, wasn't it?
Dennis, wasn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
not Dennis. Not Katrina. That was a proper.
That's the hurricane,
yeah. That was sort of rock and
we
roll.
played a gig in Storm Katrina.
It was so good, we blew the roof off, you know. But,
oh my God. But I wanted to talk to you guys about this actually, because I think we'd only done one gig prior, which would have been the Swamp. But it's the first time we started moving to that new monitoring system, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, where we started mixing. Like, how did you guys think that went? Because obviously, not necessarily specific to that gig, but obviously we'd switched to in-ear monitoring. We'd had mixes, click tracks, so we were a lot more professional. And obviously, we took the back line out of the equation, so we were trying and experimenting new things as we went along. You know, how did you guys find the move into a more modern system? If we start with you, Ryan, because I know I just hijacked your points, but I'm interested because I know you've always liked a traditional, nice big loud backline or something. If we're talking about the reviews of the gigs and the year and stuff, and obviously upgrading our systems, that was a big part of it. So how did you find that side of things?
Yeah, it was different at first. I think I've always, like you say, you're used to having the monitor in front of you. And I'm the type of person that I can't, I used to be anyway, couldn't stand having both my ears with the monitors because I used to love hearing the crowd and hearing the ambience, if you like, and feeling it. And I used to find that if you have both earphones in, you lose that. But I don't know. I kind of got away with it. Sometimes you take one out and you have a bit of it, but generally speaking, it just worked. And obviously, I didn't quite have the wireless system there and then, but Sam, you set it up so it was direct in, wasn't it, like the line kind of thing, and it just worked really well, and it just made more sense. We had more space, you could hear more. Really, I just looking back on it, that's just in the first couple of months how proud we should be of ourselves, really, especially you, Sam, for organising it, but all of us just cracking on and doing it. I know my dad came and helped with a few bits of the sound, but we should be very, very proud of ourselves, really, how it kind of really just from nothing, managed to develop that.
And was it different for you, Chris, as well? Because I know obviously when you guys were in Strikeout, you didn't necessarily always mic things. You had a bit more of a traditional setup. So how did you find the transition from what you were used to into a setup like this with a very modern PA, because obviously being digital, so it could be for the people that aren't tech minded. Imagine going to a gig and the sound can be changed from an iPad to make it better for the people out there, and obviously like the monitoring system. How did you find that, Chris, going from what you used to?
Yeah, well, my biggest frustration in previous bands is the fact that I've never been able to hear anything. I've never been able to hear. To tell you the truth, I've never actually been in a band with a guitar player. Really, so
hey, what are you trying to say?
Guitar for one. Oh yeah,
I don't fucking count you, son.
It wasn't just a prop, No, I'm joking.
Yeah. Oh, he was. Never actually heard it.
An amp? Was it plugged in? You unplugged his amp, didn't you, as he's going past?
The amp's got no speaker in it. It's just a cabinet. Sorry, Ryan.
So I know what you mean, you little shit.
What I meant to say was it was nice to actually hear another guitar player.
Oh yeah. What I meant was. Picture this. But no. Basically, you're not been used to playing with another good guitarist, yeah. So So
dig yourself out of this one, and carry on. Let's pretend you've dug yourself out of this hole.
All jokes aside, I know what you mean. So playing with another lead guitarist, you've not been used to that.
No, I'm just not hearing one. I'm not hearing the singing, not hearing the backing vocals, not hearing the drumming properly. Just everything leveled, really, because it's always just been, you stand too close to the amp, or you stand too far away from a certain point of the stage, and you kind of lose. Even with foldback monitors, they're only sort of limited really to where you stand, and they do take up a lot of room on stage. So it was nice to have that ability to also, when I think we first started with in-ear monitors, my biggest concern was not, I don't want to hear I don't want to have the whole band blaring in my eardrums at full blast. And Sam was like, no, you can control what you want to hear. what works for you. And that was just brilliant, because one other thing is I like to be able to hear myself, and sometimes I couldn't even hear myself in previous bands. Like, I couldn't hear what solos I was playing. I couldn't hear, it just wouldn't cut through sometimes. But it's always nice to know that what I'm hearing in the monitor is what the crowd's hearing. And it actually really does help, because then you think, oh, bloody hell, that, you know, I think it sounds good, and they must think the same, because you know, I can hear it. Otherwise, when you're playing and you don't know what you're playing because you can't hear it, it might sound shit, it might not. But it's the risk you got to take, isn't it?
Yeah,
game you got to play. But no, I know what you mean, and it's good when you can actually hear yourself, especially when you're doing that. And it was good for me as well, like, you know, changing to bass and hearing you two play against each other. It was great, you know, because I've always been a big fan of you, Chris. I've always been a massive fan of you, Lou, and to hear you both play together, it was just you're in the middle and you're watching you both. There's times when I'm like, go on, Lou, do a solo, and then go on, Chris, you do it was just great. I was like a fan on the stage. No.
I'll give you that 20 quid at the end of this. I'll transfer it.
Oh, I'm talking about a different band, sorry. But no, but on the whole, I think the gig went really well. Like I say, we first thought it was going to be crap because it was dead at first, and obviously the Storm Dennis or whatever it was called. After a while, it did get busy, and it was really, really good.
The feedback was good. Feedback was good that night.
Yeah. No, the feedback was really good. And then the second gig was the Anchor in Benfleet.
Again, so I turned up to there the hour early as I do.
Got another text from Sam.
And I walked in there and I was like, what the fuck is this place?
That's because you're getting there at like 5 p.m.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, though, we always said from the start that, you know, if I set up first, because I've got the most inconvenient instrument, I'll set up first and then we'll work around it, you know, where everything else goes. So that's why I was getting there early. But I turned up and this, he ain't going to watch it, this wet sock comes up to me and he goes, I'm the events manager here. I went, all right. And he said, I'm in charge of the music here. So, what's your band do? I said, well, do covers, you know, and we do originals, but we're doing functions at the moment. Yeah. You're not doing times like these, are you? I said, yeah. He went, oh, you're one of them bands. And I went, yeah, if you like, mate. We ain't got to play if you don't want to, you know. So, yeah, I set up and stuff, and he's watching. I can look out the corner of my eyes, and he's watching me, and I'm thinking, oh, this bloke's getting on my nerves. Anyway, so, very odd venue, because as you walk in, it goes very thin, doesn't it? And it's not really a stage area. You're kind of in at an angle. So setting up there acoustically was really difficult, and, you know, getting us all in the same place within the two speakers, between two satellite speakers, was quite difficult. But we pulled it off, and what a crowd then as well.
It was a great night, yeah.
Oh, it was very intimate and great. You just, you know, great buzz, and I love it when, as a frontman.
That was my favourite gig.
Yeah, it was. I think for me as well, I think it was. But as a frontman, I love it when you've got a good. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's an element as a band that you get the crowd going, but at the same time, you still need something from the crowd. And a good atmosphere, and they were just up for everything, weren't they? You could get them to clap, you could get them to. It was just fantastic.
I think what was good is because it was a relatively small venue, it got packed out, and a lot of people were local as well. So Chris had lots of people who were very local. I had a few family and friends come in, self, Lou and Ryan, because everyone was local to that play. That's why it got packed out. And I think they said it was the busiest night they've had, like so far. I know it was only February or March, whatever it was.
As well. Yeah.
But they said it was the busiest night, the most money they've taken in one night. And you kind of feel a bit proud of that, to be honest with you. Like, you're helping the business as well at the end of the day, which is what businesses need now.
Considering the first time we played there, you know.
Yeah. As I say, the landlord messaged me actually throughout COVID and said that, you know, we really like you guys, and once everything's back to normal and everything, we're definitely going to have you back. So that was nice as well. You know,
brilliant.
Even in the middle of a pandemic, you wouldn't think a pub landlord's priority would be that. It was nice for him to even say that.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's to say, it's testament to, you know, like I say, we brought something that they enjoyed, and it was a great venue for us, great crowd, great staff and everything. So definitely we can get back and do another gig there. That'd be awesome.
And we played times like these.
We'll play that again to open.
Yeah. Well, so we played that, and matey boy behind the bar, I was watching him, and he stared the whole time apparently, and he'd come up and he said, like, wow, that's the best version I've ever heard. But then I'm a bit sad as well. I research venues, so when you guys get a gig, I'll go on YouTube or whatever, and I'll find a band that's played there, and I'll listen to their set and try and see what we can do to improve on that. And because I watched a band at the Anchor, and I looked at how they'd done the setup there, and when I turned out, I thought their setup didn't really work. Let's try it this way. So yeah, I'm a bit sad like that, but I just try and look ahead really and try and think what's the best for us.
See, that's the thing, Sam. That's small detail. That's what separates you. The fact that you thought of that, and collectively that separates us from everyone else, because we are in a crowded market. So what makes you that little bit different? What makes the experience for the venue that bit different? What makes it for the people who happen to be there on that night different? It's all about being unique, and obviously it's hard to be unique in an environment that so many people are able to be in a band and play music and stuff. So little things like that separate, make all the difference. So although you sort of said, maybe it's a bit sad to do that, but you're the first one in and the last one out. So if you're the first one in, you dictate for the rest of us what the night's going to look like. So the fact that you took the time to do that probably contributed a lot in part to the success of the night overall, and what a good night it was, because people could get in and out. We had plenty of space, and the way we were laid out meant people could kind of interact and be close and, still not block things. So a small detail like that can make a big difference overall to the whole night. How many times have we all played venues where we're falling over each other? There's cables everywhere. You can't swing your headstock left or right, Yeah.
So
it's in a crash. Yeah. Windmill.
What are you swinging at gigs?
Yeah. God, I'm going to hit Ryan in the leg.
But all in all, though, a good February. Apart from at the time, I was like, I'm going to be 30. That was the last time we actually all was technically out for a meal, really, wasn't it? It was my 30th in Feb.
Was it a substantial meal?
Yeah, probably, Sam.
There was no Scotch eggs, that's for sure.
Was it a beautiful Chinese meal?
Succulent Chinese meal.
Chinese meal.
No, I'd say a good February, lads. So yeah, then going into March, obviously, Lou, you had some good news. I think you announced to us that you was going to be a dad.
I did indeed, sir.
So the next podcast you couldn't make it, I think, because you had to. Did Lauren have some sort of scan or something?
I think so. Yeah, I'm trying to think that far back now. It seems like a lifetime ago. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had a scan booked in.
So that was the reason. But so the three of us, me, Sam, and Chris, got together originally just to talk about the local music scene, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Talking about our frustrations with. Well, Chris, you was the one who thought of the topic. What was the reason why? What did you want to talk about anyway with that subject?
Booking gigs is just an absolute nightmare, and it was just a frustration of not understanding how so many bands, some bands, bands are bands, people want to be as good as they want to be, but I could never understand, and I'm not talking about us personally, I'm just talking about other bands that are better than other bands, like Finn, that's it. There are bands that are better than others, but the ones that are better don't seem to get as many gigs as you think that they would. And then the bands that aren't as good seem to just get all the gigs. And it just didn't make any logical sense. And it was just complete and utter frustration. It wasn't anything to do with us. It was just mainly to do with, I'm not going to name anyone. I'm not going to name any other bands or anything, but you could see it. And there were certain venues that just, for some reason, had this fixation with booking really not very good quality bands. And they just didn't seem to care. It just
what I found there, mate. Yeah, what I found there is because a lot of them bring a massive following, don't they, as well? These bands, because they're kind of it's kind of quantity over quality, if you like. So they just bring a whole mass of people, and that's at the end of the day, pubs pull in pints, don't they? So
yeah, but I think what Chris was saying as well is sometimes they won't give people a chance, will they?
No. Yeah, I mean, for people listening to this podcast, you can go back and listen to that one. I'll go on a bit of a rant, but it was just the whole point of it was just to try and now it's going to be an absolute minefield and everything comes back. It's going to be worse. I don't think it's not even pub's priority, is it now? It won't be for a long time, I don't think.
Yeah. So that was a really good topic, but unfortunately, a lot of it got clouded, about a new thing about the coronavirus, which it wasn't completely new, but to us, it was quite new because it wasn't. Well, we were just getting on with our lives, and it was suddenly the cases were building up. And at that point, we weren't sure whether it was a bit of a media hype. I think we even said that in the video. That is this a bit of a hype, or is this something going to be serious? So we spoke about it, and I haven't got the figures in front of me, but you can watch it on that video. We'll talk about the current figures later, but we thought, crikey, that's bad, but it's nowhere near as what it became. But we didn't know what to expect, and we didn't really know how it was going to change everyone's lives, wasn't it, from that point? And I think we did a Facebook Live afterwards because there was talks about, is there going to be a lockdown? Is there going to be something, make sure you stack up your foods. And although we weren't really panicking, we were thinking, should we go out and buy more stuff,
Yeah. I remember we had a private function, didn't we, that was coming up, and the person that was booking us asked us to do a little like video, didn't he, or something, just like a video call or something. And I remember us doing that night as well.
Yeah.
How amateur, how innocent we were. But yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's like we did that podcast, talked about coronavirus, and then literally on the way home after that podcast, I went into a pub for a drink and watched a band. Like,
that's how
it was. Doing that now? No.
But it's quite interesting. I think if you guys want to see, obviously, watch the podcast on YouTube and listen to it on Spotify. But if you go back on our Facebook videos, you can see one of our Facebook Lives around that time, which is on facebook.com/the Peppermint Apes. But good podcast. I would definitely suggest checking it out and watching how innocent we were with it at the time. But then after that, like I say, although it was quite serious, we still didn't know how to tackle it. We still had a gig in Colchester, which we still did, didn't we? Which we never realised that would be our last gig to date. No, Lewis, what did you think of the gig initially at the Centurion?
Yeah, that was a really good night, actually. I really enjoyed that. It was because that was the first gig where we just got our new subwoofer system in. So we sort of, we were just sort of hitting the stride with the PA, and obviously we added a new dimension with it, like some thunderous bass. So it definitely gave us something a little bit different. So it was a good night, good crowd. Really enjoyed it. Obviously, it was a little bit of a ruckus with some couple of drunk people, but to the end, which kind of took the edge off the night, because it's like when the 3/4 of the pub get thrown out after
a scrap. A big cat fight, wasn't there? A massive.
Yeah, and so like 3/4 of the pub get thrown out by the end, didn't they? Like then they were down to like a quarter of what we had. So it's like a bit of an underwhelming finish, but the venue was really good. The stage was good. The crowd were good that night. It was just a shame that, we were right towards the finale of the set as well, weren't we? And then all hell broke loose, and then they all get kicked out and God knows what else, and it kind of took the edge off the night. But
we actually put a video out of that gig, didn't we? A little highlights video.
Yeah. And I do remember as well, like being because that was obviously COVID was a thing, and obviously. But it wasn't like it was it? There was no face mask, no social distancing, none of it was a thing yet. And it was only a couple of weeks after that all the lockdown stuff and obviously all that kind of thing came into effect. But as a gig and as a venue, we really enjoyed that night. It was a really good night. It was a really good gig, good venue. It's funny, like over the course of the year, you're on my phone, obviously my calendar pops up. Oh, you should have been playing blah, 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 blah tonight. And it's just really weird.
Oh, yeah. But so that was a gig. And again, just like a lot of the venues we were playing, I think we were due to play there about 4 times in 2020. So we did that, and then a couple of weeks later, it pretty much was lockdown. We had a rehearsal, didn't we, a few days before. Sam, I've never seen you. That's the first time I was at a rehearsal with you, and you looked like you thought it was going to be the end of the world. Well, in a way, it's I'm not putting it down. It's been dreadful, but you was acting like we're all going to die tomorrow. You was panic. We were all panicking, but we was quite calm at the time. We was like, Sam, what are you doing? But then it was really bad after that, and we had the lockdown. And everything.
The thing is, as the band hypochondriac, I just worry about these kind of things. I don't like getting ill at the best of times, and so I you hear about it, people are like, they've got pneumonia symptoms and people are dying. But then as the year's gone on, you do realise that, it's not, okay, it's bad, but it's not as bad as what people are making it out to be for people our age, if you like. So it's mainly the older generation.
Yeah, the recovery options are better for our age demographic,
Yeah, but sorry I interrupted there, go on. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good. But then obviously we had the lockdown, and at that point, or around that point, it was so scary, wasn't it? Not knowing, if people were going to survive, if our family members would go, and obviously God rest anyone who's watching this who's lost anybody. It's just a terrible, terrible virus. But we decided, we're still trying to be productive in the best way we could. I was on furlough. Lewis, you was working throughout that. Sam, you was on furlough. Chris, you was on furlough for a while, and so we had a bit more time in the house to do things. So we thought, right, let's utilise this. And I would say that month, I think around March, April time, was really productive for us, wasn't it? We got a lot done, and we decided to work on a lockdown style video, and we thought, let's do a cover video that we haven't done for what. Obviously, we did, like you mentioned, Lewis, we did the Eagles cover, which is like a live acoustic thing, but an actual proper music video or proper recording, etc., we hadn't done for a good few years. So we thought, now's the time. And Lewis, I think you said, was it you that suggested the 1975?
Yeah. I'd gone to see him. I'm pretty sure it was February. I'm pretty sure it was early February.
I thought it was the year before you saw them, like December.
No, I'm sure it was like February time. Do you know what? It's all a blur this year now. Now I've got to really think about it. I'm pretty sure it was February. I'm sure it was. No, yeah, it definitely was. But so they obviously that was for the they had a tour just prior to their new album dropping, and they had this song that they played in the middle of the set, and I was just blown away by it. I just thought it was so cool, retro 80s, that kind of retro modern thing that was very in at the time. And I just kept listening to it on repeat. I was like, what is that song? And you know what it's like when you've only got like one version of YouTube, but it's in an arena where the bass is thumping, that big driving, and every kick just reverberates because it's in an entire arena full of 12,000 people. So I just remember the same version. I just kept listening to the same version. This would be so good to do. And obviously, unfortunately for you guys, especially Sam, I decided to pick a song that there's no recorded version to. But in the past, we'd had some success with cover videos, and the covers that we'd chosen, they weren't necessarily out yet. We'd been very strategic. We managed to find a song prior to release and doing a version of it, and then coinciding our version with the release of the official version. And I just thought, well, actually, they're one of the biggest bands in the world right now. This is a great song. I'm pretty confident this will be a single. And their management had done a couple of announcements prior to that on Twitter saying that this will be one of the singles. And we just thought, well, why not? Let's try and do a version of it. Let's try and, and just see if we can capitalize, because it's a band that we all love, that we play songs of theirs anyway. So it's not necessarily not authentic. And, and just, kind of, because like you said, at this point, none of us had any idea with the COVID side of things, what was, how long it's going to be around for, how long we're going to be effective and stuff. So, we wanted to be proactive and productive whilst we were off. Well, not off, but, I was working from home, and obviously, like Ryan, you said, the guys were mixtures of furlough and working from home, and just use the time to be valuable. And because we all know what it's like, depending on the type of band you are. For us, when we write songs, we like to get together physically and contribute. And especially with Sam, who's a big part of our writing process, you're unbelievably good with structure and hearing parts. So if you're trying to do bits over the internet, it's just never quite the same for the way that we work. I don't think it's hard, because every time you change something, you've got to re-record it all again. Yeah. Whereas at least if you're in a room, you can kind of go, well, let's add this part, let's remove this. So we sort of thought, well, maybe a cover's a better option for the way that we work. And obviously we put it all together, and it turned out really well. And obviously during that, we saw other like-minded people that were kind of trying versions of it. That's when we met Zach. He put a sax solo for that song onto YouTube. We thought, actually, wouldn't this be really cool to have him involved on this song? Because we've discussed this on other podcasts about obviously the digital sax not sounding quite as good. But I feel like that the whole process was a big success. The song's done really well. I'm really proud of the recording. I think we all played really well. Sam did an amazing job mixing and mastering it, and then just having Zach play real sax and recording it just for that song, it was really the icing on the cake, I thought.
Absolutely. And I think Sam, he did a great job. Obviously you messaged him on YouTube, didn't you, and he was up for doing it, and like you said, Lou, we'd seen him do his own cover of it, and it worked really well. And I think when I was doing the edit of the video, I thought, how am I going to do this? I thought, is it going to be a standard lockdown video, which is fine, we'll probably do some videos like that as well. But there were some videos that I thought were really good, and some were just boring. Just seeing 4 people just sit at their desk playing the guitar, which it's all you can do at the moment, really. But I just thought I'll go to town with the edit, and I looked at some of their live videos, 1975, like the screens at the back, and they have that kind of sort of sepia tones and the sort of cartoon kind of, the 80s kind of feel. And I pretty much went for that. And it took me a while to do it, but I think, generally you wouldn't have that kind of edit, but I think for the type of song that we did and the fact you forget it's a lockdown video now. So I'm quite proud of that, and I think Sam, you should be as well with the mixing. You know, we managed to speak to Zach, didn't we, on a podcast? But first, before that, we did our first podcast on Skype just before Zoom and stuff, and we spoke about his YouTube key to success. But eventually, like I say, we did do a podcast with Zach talking about music influences, which I thought that was really good to have him on board. He was a really good talker, wasn't he? You know, and interesting story. Asked us good questions as well. You know, so again, I'd suggest people to check that out. But we also did a little review video because, again, at the time, the 1975 was a big hype. Again, we hadn't even heard the actual recording, like you said, Lewis. We'd learnt a song that was just by live performances, so we didn't know if it was going to be completely different. So we did a reaction and had Zach on there. But the guy's great, and, you know, we're going to be working on a song with him in the new year, aren't we? Which is going to be really
Yeah, it'll be all something to look forward to, isn't it? Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, what's your thoughts on Zach, Sam? Like, you know, he just was so easy to work with, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. He was really professional as well. He, I mean, when I messaged him on YouTube, I was watching his cover. He replied to me within 20 minutes. Bearing in mind he's in California, and he's thousands of miles away. So he replied pretty quickly. 20 minutes he replied in, and the process just went straight away. As soon as the first message I sent to him, I attached the raw mix of what we'd done, and he liked it, and he sent over his version, and, you know, that was one we used. It was the first one he used. Did a brilliant job, and even ad-libbed little bits because, like you said, we didn't know the full structure of the song, so there was bits in the verse where we couldn't really hear it in the recording. We heard that 1975 done the live ones, so we missed like the vocal line on it, so he done it on the saxophone. It worked really, really well in the verses, but he was just easy to get along with as well, easy to talk to, just a really nice guy in general, really, really nice guy. And he has, he's well, I don't know about now, I've not spoke to him for a few months now, because we have got 2 other songs that we've done with him on it, but we've just not got round to completing them yet, really, because obviously, you know, coming out of lockdown and then going back to work and things like that, we just haven't had time to really do it. But definitely in the new year, we'll get them finished and get him back on some more songs, even on an original song maybe as well, 100%.
No, definitely. And I think generally, you know, the good thing about lockdown, and obviously even when we sort of came out of lockdown, we were quite consistent to a point, weren't we, on podcasts. We did quite a few. We spoke about online streaming. You know, we talked about, will live gigs be the same again? You know, relationships in bands, does it work? And also equipment, which I think you enjoyed talking about, Sam, talking about, you know, having the best.
I could go on for hours about equipment, but I'll just bore everyone. Like, honestly, that's his own podcast, I think, for people who are interested in this kind of stuff. I could talk for hours about it.
But there's loads of, like I say, the full podcast. So we've got them all on YouTube for this year. Obviously, we'll adjust it for the new year, but all on Spotify. So check out all the different topics and stuff that we cover. But the other thing that we worked on during that kind of time, that the first lockdown, was another video, Dakota. We had a live recording, and you sort of tweaked the mix a little bit, Sam. And I just, for this video, it wasn't like a lockdown style video. It was like getting loads of clips of a montage of some of our gigs that we did at the Swan, at Burnham, at the Anchor, I think it was, in Colchester, Centurion, and some of our rehearsals. And we just put the clip together, and that was quite fun to do, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was good one. I enjoyed that one.
It's quite a fun song to play live as well.
That was really good.
So that's kind of what we were doing. But we were also, Chris, I think you kind of come up with the idea because we thought, right, we need to sort of think ahead for some of the function gigs as well. So as well as videos and stuff that we was releasing, we was working on quite a lot of recordings, weren't we, to send to agencies? And you got some good responses from them as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, we messaged a few agencies. We were on, I'm not going to say which agencies we're on or anything like that, but yeah, we got some nice responses, and it was nice to hear back from agents saying that, these recordings are really good, especially topical as well. Not topical, sorry, wrong word to use. Relevant to the music industry at the moment, but still in capturing what we can do. Not just playing a modern song because it's a modern song. We were still, although we was doing modern songs recorded wise, they were still the Peppermint Apes, weren't they? They still were our sound. So that's what the compliments were from the agencies.
Yeah, no. So I think we were very productive with the videos, the podcasts, and like I say, the recordings. I think we really utilised our time, didn't we?
Yeah.
I was putting out monthly vlogs, etc. And then we all kind of sort of June, July time, all four of us then were working again, weren't we? We were back working full time. And I think going from furlough to suddenly, in my business as a estate agency, it was 100 miles an hour. Lewis, it's always been busy for you, but it got busier, didn't it? Sam, you was busy. Chris, you had a new job and you was 100 miles an hour. So we just naturally, as much as we didn't want to, the band had to take a little bit of a back burner, which is why there was a little bit of inconsistent uploads, etc. for a couple of months, and I stopped the vlogs because there was no point doing a monthly vlog of hardly anything. And Lewis, obviously, around August, little Hattie was born.
Yeah. We became his dad around August, so
that's kept you busy for a few months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've aged overnight. I think I thought the age is finally catching up with me.
But that's really what we've been doing. We've just been really busy with work and just cracking on with it. And obviously it's been a bit stop-start with other lockdowns and restrictions and a bit hard to have a bit of a focus. But lately, I think recently, we've been working on some recordings for the new year. It's a bit of a shame how it's gone in that respect, but you can only do what you can do. But you look at the first half of the year, fantastic what we did, and I think we can be very proud. Obviously, we'll do a recap in a second of 2020. First of all, I think it's only natural to just quickly mention, if people are watching all the other podcasts, we do mention some of the COVID stats and stuff, and I'll just quickly share my screen and just so we'll talk about where we are today. But as we can see here, so look at that. Since obviously the first podcast where we spoke about coronavirus, I can't remember the numbers there, but you'll see it as you watch all the different ones. But since then, there's been 77,509,003 coronavirus cases, deaths 1.7 million. But a lot of people have recovered as well, though, haven't they?
Yeah.
So it is a bit of perspective. The UK, obviously, our numbers have been really bad, been shocking. Total deaths 67,000, new cases up 33,000, total cases 2 million. They don't.
Do you remember back then when it was there was 400 cases today, or there was it brings the total to 50 people in the UK. Whatever back then it was. Now look at it; it's literally 33,000 new cases, and it's back in July time. It was like, there's been 80 new cases or something. It's crazy, isn't it?
Freaky, isn't it?
We can see how that's why I thought I'd share that, because people if they look back on this year, they'll see how it's changed, because in some podcasts we did share this, didn't we? So it's just really, really bad and sad, and hopefully 2021 will be better in that sense. And but you can see how, looking back on from the band perspective now, we had loads of plans, and if it wasn't for this, I'm sure we'd have done a lot more in terms of what we predicted. But also, though, just before we talk about what our plans for 2021 and looking at a quick recap, Chris, so it was quite important, I think, for this year and kept us productive, and especially yourself, was Solo Sundays. You was the one who thought of the idea. So do you want to explain a bit about that?
Yeah, well, so I first sort of came up with the idea. I mean, there's a guitar player I follow on YouTube. He does a similar kind of thing. He does it on a Friday. He done like, it's not necessarily just guitar covers, it's anything guitar related. So just be about anything. And I always thought it was a good idea to just have some sort of regular thing, but you don't have to put an awful lot of effort into. No, I have to put effort into it, but it doesn't take up an awful lot of your time, and it doesn't rely on other people's busy schedules either. You can just do it yourself. So that's when I thought of coming up with the idea of Solo Sundays. Originally, it was just going to be guitar solos. It sort of morphed into sort of full guitar covers or instrumental covers.
Like solo
and
performance,
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it sort of morphed into that, what you just said, like, and then Sam did a few, you done one, and still waiting on Lewis's, but obviously, busy schedules and things like that take up your time and stuff, so it's fair enough. But then it can, the whole idea of it was to sort of try and keep a regular thing. Obviously, me being a perfectionist, it ended up like, the first solo cover I did was the My Sharona one, and I think I was on like 58 takes, I think, when I look back at it the other day, and I was like, that's ridiculous. What is wrong with it? Because it's just like, if there was one note missing, I was like, no, I can't. It's just wrong. And that's the same with the Pink Floyd one. Like, can you imagine posting that up on YouTube and like getting a David Gilmour solo kind of like half correct or something?
There's some people, isn't there? If there's one note wrong, there's someone's gonna be like, oh.
Yeah, the anoraks. So yeah, that was kind of the idea of it. I don't know how many videos I ended up doing. I think it was a period of about 6 or 7 weeks. So there's probably about 7 videos in total. And obviously Sam, you did a few. Ryan, you did one. So yeah, it was good. And then I had sort of a break, and then I did a few more. But like, just sort of got back into it. Got back into work and everything, and then it just kind of fell apart. But I still want to do it for the next year. I've got a few more ideas, solos I'd like to do, and not necessarily just solos. It can be topics as well that I could talk. Not just me. Anyone can talk about. But that was the whole idea of it, and was supposed to be released 6 o'clock every Sunday. The reason I did on a Sunday is because I think it was a nice thing before people went back to work on a Monday. It was nice to sort of thing to see, isn't it? It's like when you put something on eBay, the best time to do it is on a Sunday night, because that's when people are most likely looking on the computer. So, that was the whole idea behind it, and I'll hope to continue it next year.
I think you did a good job, and I enjoyed doing my cover, and it was also good, because it's incorporating some previous members as well, like Dave Thorpe. He was the first one.
Dave did one. Oh,
yeah. He's really interested, and he messaged. I think he gave us a comment on one of the videos saying, "Get me on a Solo Sunday," and he did. I messaged him, and he actually did a solo, a typical, like a Solo Sunday in that sense, and the song was "Shut Up and Dance," I think he did, which he loved. When he did a 10-year show with us, he was like, "We've got to do that song." It was a song that he wanted us to learn, and it's a good cover for us to do in this set, I think, going forward.
Yeah.
Good one. So, no, and Sam as well. I liked one of your Solo Sundays where you did a full drum cover, and you did it from you did like 2 versions. There's a clip of you from like 10, 15 years ago, and one.
Yeah. Yeah, when I used to do my drum covers on YouTube, when I first started out, when I used to live at home, God blimey, I was probably about 14 in that video, the first one. So that's when I was like introduced to pop punk music and stuff, and I found Yellow Card, and I just fell in love with that song, Ocean Avenue, and I'd done a drum cover of it, one of the first covers I learned, and I thought, I'll do like a kind of a throwback, if you like. So I know that song overly well, so I'll never forget it. And while I was at the studio doing my drum video for our cover that we haven't released yet, another cover, I thought let's do a few Solo Sundays. So I've done about 5 songs in the end, but only one of them really passed the
quality control.
Exactly, yeah. The other ones I didn't really like. I done like a Youngblood cover. I done a I've done a few more as well, but they just didn't cut it for me. So I've done the yellow card one. I thought I'll incorporate with throwbacks. I started with the video of me playing back when I was like 14, and then cut into, haggard old Sam, 10, 15,
Dad
16
Sam,
years.
beaten
like
down by
later.
a youthful baby.
Yeah, 12 years later or something. They're just like tired.
No, it was
overweight Sam, that is.
I've never known you to be overweight, but no, the funny thing is, so that was Solo Sundays. Another thing that was quite good in terms of some of our releases is we did release some archive material, didn't we, Lewis? Like some old videos. So some footage from the 10-year anniversary, which was a couple of years ago, but we still never been seen before, so we put it on YouTube.
I'm glad we did that.
And there was a video that we did, a project that we did 2 years ago, 2018, in Colchester. My dad played bass, Andy Kill on drums, Dave played keyboards, and we did a T-Rex cover, didn't we? It was like a project that we were going to do, but we finished it. But we never really finished it, to be fair. We did the recording, but then this year I think Dave tweaked the mix a little bit, got it finished. I had some rushes, if you like, footage from the day and from the 10-year show, and edited the video and put the Get It On cover out. And that was a good little video to look back on.
I'm glad you did that, because the quality of the video is really good, because of obviously the studio that we were in was awesome and everything like that. And obviously the mix that Dave did was fantastic. And obviously we've always had an affinity for T-Rex anyway, obviously given the connection with your dad, obviously, and T-Rex. So,
and the bone block we did 2010.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the fact that we were able to release that finally was awesome. And like you and I have discussed many times, like there's no point in having all this great material just sitting there in a vault somewhere if no one's ever going to see it, And if it's good enough to be released, obviously it's got to be good enough. But that was something we worked really hard on at the time. So to be able to finally kind of have it in a finished state was really good.
No, definitely. Yeah. Before we sort of give our own last little final analysis on 2020, our views on it, 2021 is round the corner. So
is it?
Yeah,
Are we going to an episode of The Walking Dead?
Yeah. But no.
Form little communities.
Yeah. You ever seen the World's End at the end when they all have a campfire or something?
Cornetto rapper flies past.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, going back to a year ago, which when we was in the pub discussing 2020. So, what's our plans for 2021? I'll start with you, Sam.
Well, right, I'm actually at the watermill, as you can see. So, they've opened it just for me. It's actually the watermill. To think that we was here a year ago.
Do you look any different?
No, it's exactly the same.
Interior renovations.
No, in regards to 2021, I mean, this virus isn't going to go away as soon as New Year hits. It's still going to very much be around. I mean, what they predict in September or something, isn't it, next year, I think, or it might be in spring, I can't remember. But it's still going to be around, so I can't see venues opening their doors just yet, especially with this new variant they're calling of this virus, which is highly transmissible. Same symptoms, same illness, but it's just highly transmissible, whatever the word is. Anyway, so yeah, I can't see as soon as New Year's hits, it's going to stop, and then obviously gigs start coming in. I think it's going to be a very slow process. We might just continue, putting the time aside for us to do our podcasts, maybe even do a few more kind of lockdown style videos. I mean, now we've all bought these green screens, we might be able to do some bit more creative. But yeah, I can't see much changing too much at the start of the year. Hopefully, the latter part of the year, things might pick up. I really do hope so, because like you guys, I'm just really missing gigging now. It was just great fun, and I just want to get back into it. And it's like anything, if you stop doing it for a while, you start becoming a bit, you don't really can't be bothered, but you just got to keep the drive. That's why I want us to keep doing the podcast, keep putting our content out there and things like that. So that's my opinion, really.
Yeah.
Good man. What about you, Chris?
Basically, I think I agree with Sam, really. It's going to be difficult to sort of predict when we're going to be able to gig again. We are a gigging band. That is what we do. We're not one of these bands. We're not a virtual band. But I think for 21, it's just going to have to be what it is. We do, I've learned a lot out of recording and doing the videos and stuff like that. I've learned it a lot and I've really enjoyed doing it. I don't enjoy it as much as gigging. I will hold my hands up and say that. I love getting a rehearsal room and I love gigging and I love the feel out of it. And, doing a video is great. It's a great feeling and everything, but it's not the same. But it is what it is. We're going to have to do it. It's important to stay as a band. And also, we're all mates as well. And that, it's nice to do it as friends as well as just being in a band. So I think the whole doing the videos and the podcast and things is going to be our aim for next year. I'd like to try and do some different kind of videos. But you said about the green screen stuff and that. Be interesting to see what we can do. Maybe work on a few originals would be good as well. Do a few different covers, like different style covers. Stuff that we wouldn't ordinarily do live. Just see what happens.
That makes sense. What about you, Lewis?
Yeah. Like I say, you guys know me. I'm quite a positive person, so I feel like we've just got to make the most of what we've got at the particular time. So definitely, I think echoing the same sentiments that we've all basically said is that obviously, and we're pretty sure that venues and gigs and weddings and things won't really be a thing for a little while. So I've really enjoyed doing the YouTube stuff, the cover side of things. We've got a couple of really good ones in the pipeline that we're really proud of. So we're hopefully going to get these out in the sort of first sort of couple of weeks to the first month or so, hopefully, of January or of the year. Sorry, we're all being well. Would love to do an album or start the work on an album. I know we've all sort of discussed about original stuff for a while, and I think there's definitely something that we can hopefully record and put out there. But yeah, I think we all know that the digital side of things is going to be the future for a while. It's pretty clear, isn't it, really? So I think, as Chris just said, and obviously Sam is demonstrating in real time, that there's some options there for creativity that we can kind of do something a little bit different. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Like, don't get me wrong, obviously, in an ideal world, with all the vaccinations and COVID disappearing, then mimicking the goals and the momentum that we started last year would obviously be the end goal. More venues, more gigs, etc. But obviously, it doesn't look like it'll be a thing anytime soon. So yeah, I'm really proud of the covers that we've sort of put together. We're in the sort of final stages of mixing and mastering those, and hopefully we'll be in a position just after Christmas to start being creative with the filming. But yeah, I'd like to get those out there and then kind of hopefully work some more on some original stuff, because Sam's got some great ideas. Chris has got some great ideas. Ryan, you've sent us a couple of really good ideas as well that I'm really excited about. So I think
even you, Lou, but you even sent me a video on WhatsApp of so I'm still at the pub. You even sent me that video on WhatsApp of like an idea you come up with, and yeah, but that seemed quite promising as well.
Yeah. So we've all got little bits that we can hopefully, maybe that might be something that we can work on, because I've always said to Ryan whenever we've got together and had a discussion, and I'm pretty sure I've had the same conversation with you guys as well, like, it'd be nice to have something we can be proud of, in years to come, that we've put something together that's really good quality, really good, showcasing our songwriting, because we've yet to write some original stuff as us four. And we're all quite creative people, so it'd be really nice to get something done that we could, when all of our kids are grown up and grandkids and whatever, you'll always have something there that you can be proud of, that captured that little snapshot when you were at your peak, So yeah, for me, it's by the looks of things, it's going to be digital. I just want to keep being creative, keep pushing the boundaries, keep kind of challenging ourselves to be better, and making the most of what we got.
Yeah, good man. I'm with you guys. I think that we have to be realistic. It is going to be more digital. It's going to be a while before there's gigs. I know there's some bands locally that have, been doing some indoor gigs with, when I say indoor, of course it's indoor, but sit-down gigs, if you like, where they're full marks to them. I think it's great that they're keeping live music alive. Obviously, they're not at the moment during Tier 4 restrictions, but that doesn't really interest me. I do get a bit. I do miss gigging, but I kind of feel, with me, I don't know how you guys feel, it's a little bit all or nothing. I kind of feel like I want to do it completely. I'm not going to completely rule it out, but I don't really want to do a gig until it's a proper gig where the crowd can have a good time, they can dance, it's safe to do so. But looking forward to doing...
But sorry, the problem is, though, is this stigma is going to hang around for, I think, I think at least a couple of years to come, to be honest with you. I mean, people are going to go to bars and give people a wide berth, or they're going to until, like, I can't really remember. Like swine flu was the big thing, and when did that end? Like, obviously, it wasn't as covered in the media as COVID is, but it's like that was all forgotten about. But this, I just can't see it disappearing straight away. And then people are going to give wide berth at bars, and people are wearing masks, and I don't want to use that glass because it needs sanitising, that kind of thing. So I just can't.
Things are normal. That's true.
That's exactly. That's basically what I'm getting at.
But there might be an opportunity there.
Yeah,
there might be an opportunity for someone to capitalise.
Yeah, and hopefully there'll be. We've got some agencies that are talking about private functions and weddings. I'd like to think at some point in the new year that opportunity will be there. But I'm realistic. I'm looking forward to doing more digital recordings. I agree with you, Chris. I prefer live performance, and although I've learned a lot from this year, and I appreciate that, how to record on my own, and we can all send each other our stems, parts, etc. And there's a benefit to doing that. And we'd all, it's great that you've got that flexibility. But I don't enjoy it as much as until we're at a stage where we can all be in the same room, or two of us. But I can be with you, Sam. Doing the recording and coaching me with the vocals. It'll give me a bit of motivation. I'm looking forward to when things are a little bit more normal, where we can just be in the same area. I think we can do some great recordings for that. But what you said, Lewis, as well, it's really made me think as well recently, those last couple of months. Yes, I want us to be a great wedding band and play some great pubs and do some great cover videos. That's not going to stop. We're going to do more of that. But I think going back to our roots was originals. And Chris, you've got some great ideas as well. And I think if there's anything we can get from next year, even if we can't do any gigs next year, as well as the videos, the cover videos and the podcasts, etc., I definitely think we should start writing songs again.
I will say that there are ways to get us together, but not together. I mean, I think I sent it over a link. I don't know how much you look into it, but there's a bit of software out there which is highly recommended to allow musicians to play alongside each other in real time over the internet. And if you watch videos online and doing concerts and stuff where people are playing like in different parts of the world and they're coming together to play as a band. So even if we maybe one evening or one Sunday or something, took a few hours out just to try it, just to see if it's worth doing something. If it works, we can do gigs with it. We can do like a virtual gig, because that's going to be the thing, isn't it? And we can do rehearsals and start writing originals.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's about adapting, and we can look at things like that in terms of doing virtual gigs. And I think the sky's the limit. There's a lot we can do. Again, more podcasts as well. Like we said at the start of this video, I think we agreed as a band. I think now when you look back on videos, although it's good to sometimes have the full videos on YouTube, I think people prefer little clips, like little 5-10 minute videos.
Definitely.
I think in the new year, we don't know we're going to have a little break from podcasts, but I say maybe February or March when we start podcasts again, the full podcast will be on audio platforms, and then little snippets will be on YouTube. But I'm looking forward to, for the first couple of months, having a break from podcasts and just doing the music, which we're going to be working on. But yeah, I really can't wait to work on some great originals. And I think the sad thing is, I think we have to be realistic. We might not be very consistent with videos every week or every month. There's going to be some ups and downs because we're adapting around this world. But I'd like to think there's some great things that we can release next year. That's the main thing. So I think it's going to be a quality over quantity approach next year, isn't it, really?
Yeah, do you know what? I'd even like to start experimenting with different kind of genres. I mean, Lewis is working a lot on FL Studio at the moment. I'd love to try and, even if we've done some sort of dance song, I don't know, or, kind of like a trap kind of song or something.
I don't know what you guys think, but like the thing is, like genres are blurred a lot more these days. Like with the fact that everyone's got access to sort of creation softwares and things like that. You'll have artists that usually wouldn't do one thing and they'll do something like Machine Gun Kelly's a great album. Like Sam, exactly. you turned me on to that album. That's a great example. He's known as a rap artist, but he's put out an unbelievably good pop punk album with Travis Barker that still has like trap hip hop like beats underneath.
Do you know what though? It's obviously Machine Gun Kelly, massive hip hop artist, and they come up on my Tidal stream and started listening to it. I just got hooked. Like some of the songs are so catchy. And then that took me into the delves of Youngblood and his songs as well, like Poppy. And I've gone down this, they're called the Foxhole, with a band called Baby Metal. And they're like a metal band. These three girls front this metal band, and they do like J-pop lyrics and dances in front of a metal band. And my God, they're amazing, absolutely amazing. I listen to them more or less every day because the songs are just so catchy.
Give me chocolate.
You're not singing in Japanese. Like the lyrics are literally translated as, "If I eat too much chocolate, I will get fat and it will go on my hips." That's basically based in Japanese. But it's just so catchy, and that merging of genres is brilliant. So I don't see why we can't do anything like that. Obviously not metal and J-pop, but like pop and a bit of like.
Yeah, come on, Ryan. You better start learning your Jap.
I'll do that the minute I can grow my hair again. I'm joking.
Yeah, but like the thing is, like, it's a great example. Is I think I sent it to you guys as well. Doja Cat, Say So. Like that's a real big, huge success from a song perspective. Yet she done it at the VMAs or whatever it was, or the EMAs, one of the MTV awards, and she did it with like a full gent metal band. Like it was really cool. Like for an artist that's not associated with that sort of music to take a risk and do a version at a big event, completely the opposite to what the song's done. So it just kind of shows that genres aren't as black and white as they used to be. You know, kind of like our music streaming podcast that we did, where we talked about that, and you know, the sort of the way people consume music is different and stuff, and definitely gives us some options, like all the different platforms and the things that we have available now to kind of create something a little bit different is exciting.
I'm really excited to see what we come up with next year. I know we've got some ideas, and I think we just need to expand on it. But yeah, that's 2021. We'll look forward to seeing what happens. But obviously, to wrap this podcast up, really, I think if we just individually just give a quick little recap on 2020, you know, what you was happy with, what you probably would have done differently, and overall, are you satisfied with, you know, what we achieved? So I'll start with you, Sam. Like, you know, what was you happy with? Are you satisfied with how it was as a band, and what would you have done differently looking back on it?
I'm really proud of finding our like kind of live sound so quickly as well. We adapted to this new PA setup and this new rig and in monitoring really quickly. So I'm really happy with how that happened. And I just can't wait to, you know, go back and tweak on it and work on it a bit more and stuff. So that's the biggest highlight for me, was us adapting to that new way to play, using in-ear monitors and things like that, and, you know, getting to grips with the new software that I need to use to do the mixing, and giving your dad the iPad so he can be out in the front of the house and adapting the mixers as he should. But yeah, that's what the biggest things for me were, and then showing it off to people and getting such a positive reaction from it. That's what we thrive on, is that positive reaction. It just keeps you going. And when you hear from family members and friends, you're going to work and like they're still talking about it to you. They're like, "Oh, that was a really good gig, really well done. Like the sound was impeccable," things like that. That's what I strive for. You know, it's not to do with lighting and things like that. It's all to do with the sound for me. As long as it sounds good, I'm happy. So that's that improvements. Could we improve on anything? There's always room for improvement, mate. In there, we can always make our sound bigger, always make it better. You can add to it. You can add more sound, and we can have more speakers. We can just do more things with it, really. And even equipment-wise, we start going wireless for our in-ear monitors, so there's less cable. Just things like little picky things that I pick up on. But I think we're going the right way.
Other than the pandemic, though, that's inevitable. But there's nothing you would have really have changed about 2020. Obviously, we can improve the PA, but would you say there's anything that you would think we should have done better or differently?
No, I think we've done everything right, mate. To be honest with you, over what we can do. We've made the most of a lockdown, and you guys have learned audio production so quickly and things like that, and how the best way to do it, and especially yourself, Ryan, because you've got to do a vocal take, which is the most exposed, you know, instrument, if you like, on a song. So getting that right as well is I think brilliant to learn it so quickly, and the software as well. So I don't think I would have changed anything, obviously the pandemic, but I think we've gone the right way. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Same question to you, Lou.
Yeah, honestly, I would really echo what Sam said. I think if you, again, echoing something that I said earlier, if you look and think we only really had 12 weeks, and in 12 weeks we completely reinvented a set, we reinvented the way that we do things, we've reinvented our sound for a better PA, we upgraded it further. there's absolutely nothing I'd change, because I feel like we were obviously in a point where we were going to start hitting our stride, and we did start hitting our stride. Improvements, I'd love to add a couple of extra bits to our sound system, which we were already well on the way to doing anyway. But yeah, I think we ticked all the boxes, all the things that we set ourselves at the famed mythical pub gathering of the start of the year. I think we achieved all of the things, or well on the way to achieving a lot of the goals that we set ourselves. So yeah, for me, it was a big success. I know it's a weird thing to say in such a weird year, but if you look at the limited time that we had to the goals that we set to what we did, then I think it was a massive success. And in a way, it's a shame that we only had 12 weeks rather than obviously, an entire year, because you think what we achieved in such a short space of time, how we would have continued to get better. Because obviously the aim was to use this year as our sort of base building year, where we established the foundations. Our name is out there. People know that we're about, because as we discussed before, there's a lot of amazing functions bands around and covers bands, but they've obviously been around for a long time. They've built their name over years and years and years, and there's not really anyone in our age bracket doing what we do with the type of set that we do around at the moment. So I felt like that was our niche. I think we started to explore that. We started to push that. We started to build on that. And I think sadly, obviously, not sadly, it feels like kind of understates obviously the negative things on lots of people's lives, but from what our goals were to what we set to what we achieved, I think we were well on the way to a really successful year. So, I've got nothing really we change. I think everything was well on the way to be a really good, productive year for us.
Good man. What about you, Chris?
I thought it's awful.
You're all shit. I hate being in a band with all of you.
I'm not even angry at you. I'm just genuinely disappointed that we didn't have a full lineup of gigs this year. I'm just like, why haven't we gigs? No. I think we've done from what with what the world is and everything like that. I genuinely think we've done amazing, really. Especially with all of us trying to get on the. Obviously, you and Sam and Lewis, you guys know how to do all the recording and everything. But me and Ryan, home recording was pretty foreign to us. So. I mean, definitely for myself, like for years and years, I've always thought it was some sort of dark art, but it really isn't. It's actually really easy. And once I sort of just Googled it a little bit and just, relaxed, it was fine. Like, I don't understand why I didn't buy an audio interface just like 5 years ago. It would have made so many things so much easier. But, I genuinely think we can't have done anything more than we've done. I would like to have added a bit more music to the set. I think a little bit more different stuff would have been nice to have, like a little bit more soul-y stuff, a little bit more Motown, a bit more 50s, 60s stuff, stuff about classics really, which we were going to do anyway, weren't we? So, that's where I was at.
What are you, Brian? What are you going to?
Yeah. No, I think from my perspective, really, really proud of all of us. I think, considering, like I say, as this lineup, a new band, and the first couple of months, the first 2-3 months, we just hit the ground running. Like the gigs that we did, cracking on doing the PA ourselves. Obviously massive help from you, Sam, but we just did it. And pandemic aside, we just did everything we could. And obviously, if it was a normal year, I definitely think we'd have more content out there, would have had more subscribers and, more gigs on the back of it. But it is what it is. What would I have changed? Not a lot. I think I can generally say that I think we've done well. I think looking back on the time Ed Furler, I think we did utilise it. I think we might have maybe have been able to squeeze out another video, and maybe we might have been able to, I don't know, write some songs or do something in that sense. But on the whole, for pandemic aside, I think it was, all things considered, it was a successful 2020 for us.
And just to add to that, like you guys said, we've got some bits in the pipeline as well that obviously haven't seen the light of day this year, but are on course for release next year. So even if we look at that, there's some things that, like you say, might not necessarily equate to a success right now because they're not out there, but they are well on schedule to have a sort of big start to the year, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's been a good, fun podcast. Looking back, all we can do now is enjoy Christmas and then look forward to doing the best we can next year. And then having a recap 2021 and saying the same things.
Could have been better. Could have had more gigs.
I'll get my picture back up of the watermill.
Yeah.
So I'm down to watermill and
yeah.
Anyway, you have a nice Christmas, guys. And
all the best, bro.
Take care.
Seven in the morning, so they wanted me in. I need to get back. I gotta see the girl on the screen. Maybe I would like you better if you took out the clothes. Not there with you, baby. I think that you should give it a go. She said, maybe I would like you better if you took out the clothes. What's it? Stop thinking if you're too shy to let me, too shy to let me know. I've been wearing nothing every time I call you, and I'm starting to feel weird about it sometimes, but I really think about it this time. I'm running through it. I see you online all the time, pretending